Hi, guys. My name is Peter Sers, and this is the first episode of my brand new podcast titled The Camera Adds 10 Pounds. And I don't know if you think you know what the podcast is going to be about by listening to it, but I'm going to explain it to you right now. I myself, as a comedian, am a comedian, and, I do some acting and stuff and whatnot. But I'm also very much active in the fitness community. I've been in fitness kind of my whole life. I've been an athlete my whole life. Even though I'm a comedian, I'm not the cliche, stereotypical, sleep until 2 o'clock, stay up all night, drink, do drugs. Not that there's anything wrong with that stuff, because if that's your thing, great. It's just not my thing. And so I think I've been trying to, if you follow me on social media and whatnot, you'll see that one of my routines, one of the things that I love to do aside from just doing comedy is when I get to a city, wherever it might be, whether I'm going to Boise, Idaho, or Wichita, Kansas, or Little Rock, Arkansas, or just any of these places that, I go to regularly for stand-up. Because I know those places, I kind of already know where to go. But the first thing that I do when I arrive in a town is, get off the plane or get out of my car or whatever, check into the hotel or condo, and then I got to go work out. I have to, because it's something that helps me as a comedian who suffers from depression, like I think a lot of us do. It's one of the things that helps me just not be that, whereas I think that is part of the reason why a lot of people, do turn to like the drugs or the alcohol or, all those other vices, eating poorly, and I get that, but it's just not in my DNA to go towards things like that. Especially being an athlete my whole life, my thing was always, okay, well, I'll just go, onto the baseball field, or I'll go to the gym and work out whatever I need to just work out, clear my mind, unleash some aggression. So that's the first thing I do when I go to a city is I find the gym. And if I'm lucky, if it's a city that I've been to before, I can tell you, all the cool places to work out in the cities that I've been to before. I have favorite gyms all over the country. Also like places when I go to like Toronto, Vancouver, like I already know like, oh sweet, like I'm going to get to go work out at Axiom Fitness when I'm in Boise, just to name something. Like I already know. And it's like, okay, it's this far from the condo, it's this far from the hotel, or lo and behold, this hotel that we're staying in actually has a nice gym, so I don't have to go anywhere. But it's just a passion of mine. I think, there's some other guys that do things like, they're going to go find the local, I don't know, bread store or something. I don't know. Like everyone has their thing. Some guys just stay in their hotel room and play video games all day. And I say guys, but I'm using it as a unisex term. It could be girls too. But that's just my thing. But like I said, it does help me. It kind of helps me get ready for the weekend too, because depending on where we are, stand up wise, it might be, we might be working a 3-day weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some clubs, it's more of a 4-day week where you're working Thursday through Sunday. Some clubs, I'm not going to name any because I'm, still thankful that they book me. But some of these clubs, the week starts on Wednesday. So you're in some little podunk town for 5 days. And it's like, I ain't staying in my, my hotel or the condo for 5 days. Like I got to go get out, eat some good food, and I say good as in stuff that tastes good. I'm still going to one of the things that we could talk about this a little bit. It's my podcast. I can talk about whatever I want. I love barbecue. And for me, it's just I'm a meat eater. So if you're a vegetarian and that offends you, go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. Don't go fuck yourself, but I don't care. I'm going to eat meat, okay? And it's good for you. Like especially as someone that works out, like I need protein, and I know all the vegans are going to try to argue about like, oh, well, you can get your protein. Like, I don't care. I'm going to eat meat, okay? Deal with it. If that makes me a bad person, whatever. I'm not killing the animals. I'm just going to eat them. Someone's going to anyway. But for me, like I love barbecue, and since I get to travel, to the South or wherever, the first thing I do after I look for the gym is, okay, let's see if there's a barbecue place, a good barbecue place nearby. How far is it? So forth. And for me, I go to these barbecue places because, if you're doing like the keto diet or, Atkins or paleo or like all these different, diets that have, cool trendy names, one of the main staples is, just eating a lot of protein. So, cause I don't even count my calories, not to bore you with a bunch of nutrition facts, but I could probably tell you how many calories I eat just because it's something that I paid attention to for so long that I can look at a plate of food and be like, okay, this says this many calories. But I don't look at calories. I look at, okay, I'm going to get this much protein because I got to feed my muscles because I work out a lot. Get it? So with the barbecue, for me, mentally, it's like, I'm treating myself because it's delicious if they do it right, of course. But also, I don't have to have that guilt of, okay, well, I just ate a whole pizza, or I just went to some crazy burger place with a big old burger that's bigger than my head and a plate of, like, those things are all great, and I'll have if it's somewhere like, what's it called? I've been to Oklahoma City. There's this place called S&B, I think is what it's called. You ever been there? No. I think it's called S&B. I don't have time to Google it right now, but we had a show and I was with Colin Moulton, who's a great guy. He was headlining, and he knew these people that had filmed a special or something. I don't know. Anyway, they took all of us to this place to go eat. They're like, you have to come here. It's so good. And I was like, sweet, we'll pay for you. And so as a comic, if someone offers you a free meal, you take them up on it. That's just the way it is. We don't get paid enough money to turn down free food, healthy or not healthy. So already in my mind, I'm like, well, it sounds good. All right, I'm going to indulge myself a little bit. And it was this, I don't remember too much about the burger. I do remember it being good, but what I do remember is these chili, they were French fries with peanut butter and bacon on them. Yeah. And like, and when you say it, it sounds disgusting, but like having it at the moment, like that it just touched my mouth, I was like, okay, like I get why people are obese, like everywhere else but LA now. Like I get it. And I mean, I get it anyway, but like that was really good. So like times like that, like every once in a while, yeah, sure. Like I'm going to treat myself. But for the most part, I go out and have barbecue when I'm on the road, and I don't eat like the macaroni and cheese. I don't do the potato salad. I usually just do barbecue, whatever their version of the baked beans is. And that's pretty much it. And for me, it's like I cheated on my diet, but I didn't really, because it's just meat and beans. Yeah, maybe they put some sauce in the beans, but it's nothing like eating a bunch of fried shit. And so guess what? I've worked out. I've treated myself mentally with a cheat meal that's not really a cheat meal. And I don't feel like shit that night, the next day, and so forth. And then I'm repeating that routine over again. Because when you're on the road, as a comic, you don't have anything else going on. Maybe you have to do radio in the morning in whatever town, but that's kind of something that's dying at this point. Not that many towns do it anymore. So I've been told, a lot of places I go to, we don't really do radio anymore in the morning, but it still happens in places. In the old days, the comics would go in, mainly the headliner, which I'm not yet. So, but, sometimes they would take any point being, when you're on the road, you go do morning radio like on the Thursday or Friday, and the people listening to the radio hear you on the radio and want to come to the comedy club and see you. But that's not really that much of a common practice anymore. So I don't really do. I've done it in a few cities like Colorado Springs, and I did do it in Tulsa, I think. But anyway, so point being, I wake up in the morning and I'm already used to waking up early anyway. It might be, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, heaven forbid, but it just depends on how jet lagged I am and what time I got in the night before. But it's like, okay, so let's say I sleep in, which is usually like 8 o'clock. All right, so I eat breakfast. What am I going to do? The show doesn't start till 7:30, 8. I still have 11 hours. I'm not going to sit inside and just watch Netflix all day. I will feel horrible. I'll go out. I'll go for a walk. Weather permitting. If the weather's not permitting, I'm not going for a walk. Although I did walk in 20-degree weather when I was in Arkansas to go to the gym because it was like a mile away. But that's what I did. I woke up. I ate breakfast. I went to the gym, came back. Guess what? I had lunch afterwards. It was still 12 o'clock. I still have 7 hours. Now I get to write. Now I get to be creative. But I feel good because I got my day started, and I feel, my blood's circulating, and I feel good. I don't feel like a lazy piece of shit, okay? Which, unfortunately, a lot of comedians are. I'm just saying it. You guys know it's true. Not all of us, but some of us. So anyway, and that's just kind of like my routine anywhere. And when I'm home, when I'm in LA, it's kind of the same thing. I love, if you see, like I said, if you follow me on social media, you'll see I'm always going to different fitness classes and so forth. Just because it just makes me feel good. Like I could do, it's better for me than taking drugs than doing something negative. Like I want to live long enough to really reap to enjoy the benefits of whatever success I have in this industry, because I started comedy a little bit late. So with that being said, I do want to kind of like give you like a little history of myself, just so you guys can kind of know where I'm coming from. I was actually born here in Hollywood. Here, if you're not in Hollywood listening to this, and that doesn't make any sense, but currently we're in LA. I was born in Hollywood, and we lived here for a few years, and then we moved out to Ontario, which is like 40 minutes from here. So I went through elementary school, junior high, all that stuff, living in Ontario. Like I said, it's about 40 minutes from here without traffic. And I was always playing baseball. Like I thought I was going to be a baseball player, but very early on, fitness became a part of my life because I played baseball, but two, I was really into wrestling as a kid. Like I think a lot of young boys are wrestling. And not to date myself, but I was a really big fan of Hulk Hogan. I was a little Hulkster myself. And I remember when I was 8 years old, Hulk Hogan was really big at the time. And they came out with this thing called the Hulkamania Workout Set. And it was really cool. It was basically 2 dumbbells that were like 3 pounds, I think. I don't remember. I don't have them anymore. It was a long time ago. But it came with 2 dumbbells. It came with one of those hand grippers. And it came with a jump rope. And then a poster with like all these different exercises on it. And it came with a tape, like an actual cassette tape. And the tape had like this funky music, and it was narrated by Hulk Hogan. So he would come on the tape and be like, "All right, little Hulkster, I want you to go through." And then you do the warm up. And it was like, I don't even know how long it was. It could have been like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I don't know, because I was 8 years old. But I remember doing that workout like every day. And then at random times throughout the cassette tape, Hulk Hogan say, "Don't cheat, little Hulkster, or I'm going to body slam." Oh, and it also came, the Hulkamania Workout Set also came with a Hulkamania headband, which is the shit. And it was awesome. And I feel like I did it every day. Maybe I didn't do it every day, but like I felt like I did it a lot. And for me, growing up in a household, which you guys will learn now, I'll start to open up a little bit more. My dad was really abusive growing up. He was verbally abusive, physically abusive. I talk about it in my stand-up, so it's no secret. And I feel like, at least baseball wise, that was an escape, but it kind of wasn't an escape because my dad was also like my little league coach, so like I still had to endure that physical and verbal abuse on the place that I enjoyed being, which was the baseball field, and deal with my dad there and then deal with him at home. And so like, I do feel like without even knowing it, like those workouts that I was going through with Hulk Hogan and whatnot, were kind of like my escape. That was like the beginning of, okay, fitness is kind of an escape for me, a way to kind of just get away from everything mentally. I was able to go in my room, do my workout, and not have to deal with him, which was great. And so that kind of just kept that on, when I was in junior high. Bo Jackson was really popular at the time. And if you don't know who Bo Jackson is, Google him. He was one of the best athletes that ever lived. He's still alive, but he basically Nike was already like pretty big. And then obviously they came up with the Air Jordans in like the mid 80s. I don't remember the exact year, 84 maybe or something. And Michael Jordan was like the first athlete they really pushed hard, and it obviously worked well for them. But Bo Jackson was like the second one, and they really put a lot behind Bo Jackson because if you guys know who Bo Jackson is, he was a professional. He was in the NFL as a running back. He played for the Raiders, which is why I took an interest in him because hello, LA Raiders back then. And also he played in the major leagues. He was one of the first people. I don't think he was the first. There was somebody else before him, and I don't remember who it was, but he definitely was the first first person to make the All-Star team in Major League Baseball, and make the Pro Bowl in the NFL. Like, he was just a phenomenal athlete. He could run, he could hit, he was a badass running back, he would knock dudes over, he was fat. And so as an athlete, I was like, oh, I want to be like that guy. And so he came out with this book, his autobiography, and I read it, and he kind of talked about working out. And so that kind of just kept my fire going. I was like, hey, if I want to be a two-sport, because I played football back then too. I feel like a lot of kids play multiple sports, which is great. I think sports are great. I think if you have kids, get them off the iPads, have them play sports. It's great for them learning how to deal with others. People of all walks of life have to play sports together. You don't have to like everybody, but you have to work as a team to get towards that common goal. I think it's very important for kids, whatever. But, I wanted to be that professional athlete like Bo Jackson. So I just kept working out. And then I got to high school, kind of dabbled in weights a little bit. We had when I played baseball, we didn't have our own weight room in baseball. So we had to share a weight room with the wrestling team. And so in order for us to use the weight room, we had to get up and be at the gym at 6 a.m. 3 times a week. So think about that. Think about a high school kid, okay? And I'm still not a big guy. I have muscles, but I'm not a huge person. But think about that. To where, how many high school kids do you know that are going to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym 3 times a week at 6 a.m. before school? Because we started school at 7:30. But I did, and because I just knew that I was like, all right, I want to be like Bo Jackson. I want to hit home runs. I want to do this, and I was already pretty athletic, but it was just I already had that regimen, that mindset that this is how I'm going to better myself, even as a high school, without even realizing. I just knew that it was important because these guys that I looked up to were doing it. So, fast forward, went to college, same thing, then we got a little bit more structured with the weights, and I started seeing how not only was my body changing, but my performance was changing. I got faster and stronger and became better when I got to college than when I was in high school. And I was like, oh, well, this weightlifting shit is great. Didn't get drafted into the major leagues, which whatever, but I still had an interest in fitness. So right out of when I was done with school, I became a personal trainer because I just thought it was the coolest job to have. I just thought it was cool to be able to tell chicks that I was a personal trainer. And so it's still so now it's okay, now it's really a part of your life because it's your job, and then a couple years later, I don't remember the exact, actually, no, I do remember the timeline. I became a trainer in 2001. And then a few months later, also little side note, I was on my high school dance team, not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay, but in case you were wondering, yes, I was on my dance team. No, I'm not gay. But the other kid that was on the dance team was gay, if that matters. I don't know. Anyway, it was whatever. It was actually pretty cool. We would perform in front of the school, and everyone knew our routines were cool. And my dad, of course, didn't like it. I talk about this in my stand-up. So like I said, if you heard it, if you've listened to my stand-up, I talk about this, but my dad wasn't very supportive of me being on the dance team, but I got on the dance team, one, because it was cool, but two, because all the hot girls were on the freaking dance team. So my dad would make fun of me and say that oh, you're gay for being on the dance team. I'm like, no, dude, that's where all the hot girls are. I'm on this dance team, one, because I'm an amazing dancer, but two, I want to hang out with these girls. Okay. So anyway, fast forward, I'm doing personal training, and there was 2 dudes on the high school dance team that were a year ahead of me, and they're twins, Rashad and Rashawn Miles. Shout out to you guys if you end up listening to this. But they were really good dancers, and so I remember watching MTV Spring Break, and these dudes were on TV dancing with Beyonce, and I was like, holy shit, those guys are backup dancers for this is crazy. And then I ran into them somewhere I don't remember where the mall or something. I was like, I saw you guys on TV, you guys are dancing still, how do I get into that? And they told me, you got to go take class or whatever. And so I looked up dance studios, found out about Millennium Dance Studio, and at the time, NSYNC and Britney, super popular. And I saw that the guy Wade Robson, his name is coming up a lot now, he was teaching classes at Millennium, and I'm like, well, shit, I kind of want to be, because I wanted to be a singer back then. I was like, even though I knew I was a good dancer, my thought was, okay, I could start dancing, be someone's backup dancer, and then maybe they'll want to help me, with my singing career. I wanted to be a pop star even before like it was a thing. And so I'm like, I'll go to this Millennium place. And so if you don't know who Wade Robson is, you know who Wade Robson is?
I
don't. Wade Robson is actually the documentary about Michael Jackson leaving Neverland. He's one of the dudes that claims that Michael Jackson assaulted him sexually. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to divide anybody, but that's him. So if you've heard the name, that's who Wade is. I used to train with him at Millennium. And within a few months, like I thought I was good enough. And I went to just an open call for one of the dance agencies, DDO. And, they said that, you probably should take classes for a couple years before you go. But I was like, I just want to see what it's like. And so I know what to prepare myself for. And lo and behold, I go to this agency open. Like every major agency has like 3 open calls a year. I go, and since I had been training with Wade and a couple of the other choreographers at Millennium, I was already used to like that tempo of learning choreography really fast, and the routine that they taught us at this dance audition wasn't as hard as the stuff I was learning at Millennium. And so lo and behold, I got signed. Like my first audition, I got signed to a major like dance agency, and I was like, all right, sweet, I'm a dancer now. So I started going to auditions and stuff, and I thought I was in good shape already because I had been working out, like I said, since I was 8. And then I go to a dance audition and I saw like just how ripped some of these dancer dudes were. And at some of the auditions, they would be like, okay, can we see you with your shirt off? And you're like, okay. And you realize you're not in as good shape as you thought you were when you see people because dancers, if I had to like just throw everybody under a blanket, I would say that dancers have the best body, guys and girls. Like for physical fitness wise, I think dancers have the best bodies. Like I love, looking at like the bodies of like ballerinas, but like a lot of these guy dancers, I think, I remember like watching some of these guys, and I'm just like, dude, these guys have like muscles in their abs that like I've never even like. This is not like, and they're not like super like, you go through like a bodybuilding magazine or something, and you look at these guys, and they're like, yeah, they're huge, they have all these muscles, but like you also know that they're probably on steroids. So like these dancer guys were like similar to me, like leaner bodies, but like super defined, and I was like, okay, well now I really need to kick it up a notch. So that was kind of like what inspired me to just kind of not only take my work. I was already a trainer, but like I had never really paid attention to my nutrition that much. And also, I didn't even talk about this. We'll rewind a little bit. We won't edit it. We'll just keep going. But like when I stopped playing baseball, which was like 2001-ish, I stopped for a few months and I stopped working out as much at that point. And so there was like a 6-month window maybe where this is before I became a trainer. I was working at Dave & Buster's before I got fired from there. And we don't have to talk about why I got fired. It's silly, but I got fat. Okay. This is another reason why I talk about why I kind of like promote like health and fitness on my Instagram and stuff, among other things. But it's because I got myself up to where I was over 200 pounds. And that might not sound like a lot, but like right now I'm 160, 161, 162, I don't know, somewhere around there. I fluctuate depending on water retention and stuff, but I got over I was like 205, okay? And like I said, some of you guys might, 200 pounds doesn't sound bad, but for me, that was a lot. And I saw a picture of myself with my girlfriend at the time. We were hugging, and I have this picture too, and maybe I'll share it on my Instagram after this comes out. But it's her and I hugging, and she has her hand on my stomach, but her hand is like, if you guys are watching this, her hand is like out here. And I just remember thinking like, what the fuck, dude? What happened? Like, how did I get that? And she's like, I don't know. And I hadn't realized I had gained weight because in my mind, I was still working out, but not as much as I was when I was playing baseball. And that was kind of like the turning point when I was like, okay, I need to really get serious. And then, like I said, became a trainer, started working out, thought I was fine, especially compared to what I was at, 200 pounds or such. So then I start dancing and I'm like, okay, I thought I was good, but I was compared to what, being like 165 or even I was actually heavier then. I was like probably like 170, 175 after I had lost, all that weight. but then seeing like how these guys were, I'm like, oh, I got to take it up to another level. Are you following me? Okay, cool. So I let myself get fat, and then I lost the weight. And then when I realized I wasn't in the kind of shape that I should be in, I lost more. So then I was dancing for a few years, nothing huge, like little stuff. There was some cool stuff that I did. So I'm doing dancing, I'm doing backup for some people, couple cool things, nothing huge, but like I loved it. And I was in amazing shape because I was, either taking class every night on top of like, lifting weights and working out, but also like going to a dance audition. And if you don't know what a dance audition is like, basically you get there, let's say the dance audition's at 1, right? You show up, and depending on who the audition's for, if it's for like a lesser artist or like a commercial or something, there might be like a couple hundred people there. So if you get there at 1, they teach you a routine and you go over it a bunch of times, and then they break you up into groups, and then you do that. So for the most part, at a dance audition, you're going to be there anywhere from like 2 to 3 to 4 hours. Okay. And then you might get cut, which usually happens. But at the end of the day, like you still dance for like 3 hours. So you kind of got like a workout. You did. So that's why dancers are amazing shape. And then if you book something, now you're rehearsing for, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day. And then you probably, because you love dancing, you're going to a studio afterwards and taking class with somebody else, because that's how you network as a dancer. You go and take class with, all the big choreographers in hopes that they'll book you in a job or something. So a lot of networking, just like any other part of the industry, just like any part of any industry, but especially in the entertainment industry, there's lots of networking that takes place. It's not always about the talent that you have. A lot of the, especially like in comedy, which is where I'm at now, is there's some, especially like, I live in LA, so there's so many funny people. There's people that are hilarious. There's hundreds of us, but sometimes the job's going to go to somebody because they knew, the person booking the job, or the headliner, or the booker of the comedy club, or whatever it might be. A lot of this industry is networking, all facets of it. So anyway, fast forward, my body kind of started getting beat up because I was dancing for, a few years, and, dancing for hours a day. So I decided, and I kind of just knew, like, for a dancer's shelf life, at some point in every dancer's career, there comes a time when you have to think, okay, do I want to choreograph or like open a studio, or do I want to transition to another form of, entertainment or whatever? And I kind of, at that point, even though I still wanted to be a pop star, I kind of lost, and it didn't become my passion anymore. I still thought it was cool, and I would have gladly became a pop star, but like pop music is kind of dying at this point, so I decided that I wanted to I had always had an interest in comedy and stuff, so I decided I should start taking like improv classes at Groundlings so that I could maybe get on a sitcom or be on SNL or something. I really wanted to do stand-up, but at that point I didn't quite know, even though I'm from here, not really how to get in it, so I thought that would be my way in it. Like, okay, well, I know I'm funny with my friends, but let me take classes so I can learn how to be funny, like, on camera or whatever. And so I took improv classes, and I'm thinking about this. I'm going to rewind just a little bit. When I was 20, this is another reason. This is another thing that kind of renewed. When I was 20, as some of you guys might know, my mom passed away, and that was like a real big wake up call for me, like just health wise, and like it really stressed the importance of taking care of my body and my health, because my mom, even though, my mom was overweight, growing up, and then, when she passed away, she wasn't like, I don't remember the exact number, but I feel like she was like, 225, 230, but she wasn't tall. So like, she wasn't like humongous, but she was overweight. And as far as we knew, she was fine, but I'll just kind of go through this really quick. But, my mom got sick, which she thought at the time she was the only one working, because my dad had already done the drugs and stuff, which I guess I'll talk about too. But my dad kind of got into meth and stuff right around the same time, started smoking and kind of selling. And he ended up, my My dad was also overweight, or is overweight. Still, bad meth addict. If you smoke meth, you shouldn't be fat, but my dad is, so whatever. My dad, because he was like, he got into meth and whatever, because my dad used to work for the post office, and then he kind of got into the drugs, and then he got this bright idea that he would open like a dart business, selling dartboards and stuff. So I'm sure like what used to happen was my dad would get high. We didn't know my dad was on meth, by the way. We just thought he just really liked playing darts, and he would hang out with these like dudes from around the neighborhood. You know, I lived in a Mexican neighborhood. A lot of guys do meth, and they would stay up all night playing darts. And so in a brilliant moment, he decided, oh my God, we love playing darts. Wouldn't it be great to open up a dart business? And if you're around a bunch of other meth heads that like playing darts, they're like, yeah, that's a great idea. So I don't even know how it went down, but I just remember he put a bunch of money into buying all these like to get like a business license to sell darts and stuff. And then we started going to swap meets and setting up booths and trying to sell them and stuff. And it was fine. But long story short, he ended up wasting a lot of my mom and dad's money. And then we ended up getting evicted from the house that I grew up in. So then my mom and my dad moved into a place with my brothers. I moved out. This is when I was 20. And then a few months later, that's when my mom passed away. So that's where we kind of are right now with this. So I remember my mom, like I said, she was overweight, and she got sick on a Thursday. It was Thanksgiving. And so we didn't think she just thought she had the flu. And so a couple days later, it was really bad. And so she called my grandmother and asked my grandmother to take her to the hospital. And then she died the next day. So that's kind of, that was like a big wake-up call for me. It's because she ended up dying from a blood infection that's called sepsis. And there's no actual, like, her autopsy at least didn't really find what the cause of it was or whatever, you know. But like I said, she neglected herself and her health. They said that she probably was experiencing symptoms of this for a while, but at the time she was the only one working. So, she kind of neglected it to take care of my brothers and my dad and stuff. So, you know, she passed away on a Thursday. She got sick on a Thursday, or we found out about her being sick on a Thursday, and then 3 days later she's gone. So like that, like just totally messed me up. And so I was still in college at that point. So that's when I also kind of really got into like, all right, the gym is like, that was when the gym really became my escape, because it was like, now I don't have like, you know, my mom was like a really good, we had a really good relationship, my mom and I did. My dad, not so much, because he was verbally and physically abusive and not very supporting of some of the things that I was doing that wasn't sports. So, but I just remember like thinking like, okay, I'm not going to ever let myself get to a point where my health is jeopardized and I can't take care of myself and take care of my family, or, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of a renewed thing. And then like, you know, I found this whole pursuit of entertainment and whatnot. So now fast forward, we're in class. I'm still working out. You get it. Okay. So like I said, I'm already, you know, going through the dancing stuff. In the old days, this is not really a practice anymore, but we used to go to auditions. And do you go out for stuff?
No, not really.
No. So in the old days, you would always have to go to an audition with a headshot. Okay. Which is an 8x10, right? 8x10 or 8x11? 8x10. They're 8x10 pictures, and then on the back, you got your resume that has all, you know, the stuff that you've been in. Or for most of us, you know, especially when we're starting out, we just put a bunch of shit on there that's not really true. We make up stuff. And that used to be how you walked into an audition. But when you got there, even though you had a headshot, they would make you take a Polaroid, okay? And the old thing was like, okay, yeah, well, anybody can look good in a headshot, because you have makeup, you have lighting, you have retouching, but Polaroids don't lie. And so I remember one of my first auditions, you know, they wanted us to take off our shirt, and we had to take a Polaroid. And it was still like, I was already feeling good because I was a dancer already. But then I see myself in the Polaroid. I'm like, fuck, dude, like, I don't I think I look good, but then you see yourself on camera and you're like, I don't. And that's kind of like where I started always to say like the camera adds 10 pounds. Cause it's like, you always hear that from people, but it's so true. Like if you ever run, especially with actors, when you see them on the big screen, guys like, like Tom Cruise or whatnot, like they look like a normal size. Sometimes they look big, and then you see them in person and you're like you're so tiny, like you're a little guy. That's why like someone like Chris Hemsworth, who is obviously super muscular, but he's only like I think 6'1", maybe 6'2". Like it's not like he's this huge imposing figure, but compared to like a little guy like Robert Downey Jr., who's probably like my size, maybe even smaller, and Mark Ruffalo, who's definitely smaller than me. Like he looks humongous on camera. Like the camera really does add something, and it doesn't make you look bigger, but it definitely doesn't lie either. Do you know what I mean? And compared to everybody else, that's why a lot of people, like I said, a lot of actors, when you see them in person, they're way smaller than you thought they were, because the camera can make you look either bigger or whatever. Anyway, so that's kind of where I got the name. But it's just a phrase that people throw around, but it's a real thing. There is definitely something to seeing yourself on camera and being like, oh man, like one of the big things as a comic, is like, you do a show and maybe you're like, hey, can you get a picture of me on stage? Or maybe they just take a picture on stage, and then you see yourself in like a picture on stage and you're like, do I really look like that? And it's still like, even though like I'm totally confident in myself, sometimes I still look at I'm just like, oh man, like, do I look like that? Do I sound like that? Like, does my back hang over like that? Like, I'm very aware of my posture, especially when I'm on stage. But sometimes, like, I don't think about it and I get lazy, or, maybe I was breathing in or out and then my stomach, it's just like, it's definitely a thing. And maybe I just have issues. I don't know. We all do. Like, I think that's why a lot of us get into stand-up comedy in the first place, is because we have, issues that, we've dealt with in our lives. Like I know so many people that have been through, really bad things, kind of like myself, and then they just get into stand-up comedy, and it's like, it's a type of therapy. It really is. Like, I've gone to therapy and I go to therapy sporadically, just because of all the shit that I've been through, which you guys have heard at this point. But, there is something very therapeutic about taking your experiences and then flipping them, using some artistic liberty and then making it funny so that other people that are listening, that don't know you especially, can, learn your story, but also laugh at your pain. And then the fact that they're laughing means that now you can laugh, because it's like you took something really bad and made it, I don't know, it's something that's really cool. It's very therapeutic. I think with this podcast, what I want is to bring in different people, mainly comedians, because I know there are a lot of comedians. I know I kind of pigeonholed a lot of comedians saying that they're lazy, and what I meant was, I'm not going to backtrack, because there are still a lot of lazy comedians, but there are a lot of us that do care about their health and do, eat right, work out and stuff. Like a lot of the really successful people, comics that I follow, they'll post stuff about them being in the gym. And I'm like, yeah, dude, perfect. That's what I want. I want the stigma, because we hear, I've just, in the 6 years that I've been in comedy, I know several people that have committed suicide or just died because they were unhealthy. And it's just like the lifestyle that we live, as a comic. Think about it. We work at night. The shows start at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and they go, on the weekends. And I'm speaking like road clubs, places like the Comedy Store are a little bit different, because the Comedy Store opens like at 9, or at least the original room does, and they go in, it's just comic after comic until 2 o'clock. So that's another late night. But like on the road, you have a show on, Thursday, and then you have, 8 o'clock show on Friday, 10 o'clock, 10:30 show Friday night. And then some clubs either have 2 shows on Saturday, like 7 and 9:30. If they're nice, they will give you the earlier times to start on Saturday so that you don't have to be up. But some clubs just keep the same time. So point being, we're up late on the weekends and a lot of times during the week, So that is not conducive to just being healthy because you're in a club or a bar all night. There's alcohol, there's bar food, there's people doing drugs, there's all these different things that can kind of compile into like, all right, well, I guess I'll have a shot or two, or I'll have a cigarette, or I'll have a this. And if you do all those things, like I said, I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody. It's just not something for me, but the odds are against us as comics, okay? Then, you got to drive, 2 hours or 3 hours to, a job to make, a couple $100 or something or less. And that's grueling, especially like if you're driving. Airport flying, it's different, because, you have maybe a 3 or 4 or 5 hour flight, maybe a layover, but you can kind of stop and eat or whatever. For me, like when I travel, one of the things when I travel, depending on how long my trip is, I've always got my protein bars. So if I'm going to be gone for, let's say, a weekend, I've got a box of protein bars and then maybe some shakes and stuff. So that way I have at least, some snacks throughout the day, so I don't have to say, okay, well, let me go have this. I'll just eat these fried chicken fingers or this hamburger or whatever that doesn't probably taste good anyway. Also, this is just me, and this is probably going to upset some people, but if I'm working at a comedy club, I don't care what city it's in, I'm thankful for the job, but if the club doesn't give me a meal when I'm working, then I will not buy food from that club. I know. I just think that if you're going to serve food and you're going to employ us as comics, then you need to feed us. You don't have to be much, just one meal a night. That's it, dude. Some club, just you can drink. I don't want to drink, dude. Just give me food. And there are a couple clubs there's still quite a few clubs that feed you, but there are some clubs that will be like, oh, the food's half price. I'm like, you want me to pay for those nachos, or you want me to pay for that chili, whatever the fuck that is, or like, God, I mean, it's bar food. Every comedy club, with the exception of like a handful, it's all bar food. I'm not going to eat bar food because it's going to make me feel like shit. And you want me to pay for it? No. Anyway, where was I going? Oh, just the environment. Okay. So you're on the road. Okay. You're driving. Like I just drove, I had to drive all the way to New Mexico for a couple of jobs. So that was basically like 2 days to get out there. I could have done it in one day, but it would have been brutal. So, I had to stop in Arizona and spend the night, which, by the way, hilarious story. I got pulled over. So my girlfriend went with me. So my girlfriend's white, super white, and I always not joke with her, but like I'm always afraid to go into Arizona because the last time I went to Arizona on the way out, I don't know if you guys know this, but in Arizona they can pull you over if they think that you could be illegal, like an illegal alien. And I always joke about it, but I actually got pulled over the last time I was in Arizona. Because I look like the officer that pulled me, I got pulled over on the freeway. Okay, I had a crack on my windshield. Okay, like a crack, like maybe this long on my windshield, and the highway patrol was sitting in the divider, and I was going the speed limit. I had it on cruise control to make sure that I wasn't speeding, so I wouldn't get pulled over. And he saw my face, still pulled me over. And then when he pulled me over, he said, I pulled you over? I said, no, I don't. He said, because you have a crack in your windshield. I was like, fuck off, dude. You didn't know that. There's no way at me going 75 miles an hour, you saw the crack on my windshield. But whatever. So anyway, when I was going to New Mexico, I knew I had to pass through Arizona. I was like, you got to come with me and my girlfriend. And plus it was just like a fun road trip anyway. New Mexico's kind of pretty. And so we got pulled over by Border Patrol in California. Okay. Nowhere near the border. We're 100 miles away from the border. We're going down the 10 freeway. We're in Blythe, California, which I think we figured out is like 85 miles from the Mexico border. But for some reason, there's a border patrol station there, and they pulled me over. This is like midnight, okay? Pulled me over, and I was like, fuck, dude. You're like, here we go. And she was like, what happened? I'm like, they're pulling me over. I thought it was a cop. First of all, I didn't realize it was Border Patrol until the guy pulled around to the car. I said, hello, sir. I'm with the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. I was like, and then I just started laughing because at that point, now it's just comical. And my girlfriend got to see firsthand like what I deal with. But, gave him our stuff. And I had some, okay, so I'm super healthy. And my views on certain things have changed, and I'm going to say that because I take like 10 milligrams of some sort of, it varies, but like I'll take 10 milligrams of a THC edible before I go to sleep, because as a comic that stays up late, I can't sleep. So over the last I don't know, since the summertime probably, someone suggested it, because I used to just do CBD, which was really good for like inflammation and helping my joints heal and stuff. But after that, like I just felt like I was still like kind of like I was sleeping fine, but someone suggested that I do a little bit of THC and it would actually help the CBD even more, because, you know, I'm getting older, and because I work out so much, sometimes I'm just super sore. And I did find that when I started adding the THC along with my CBD, you know, intake, I'm less sore than I used to be. But like I said, I can't sleep. And when I started taking the edibles, I have no problem sleeping now, which is great. But I had a little bag of edibles in the car, because he asked me, the Border Patrol said, do you have any drugs? I said, I mean, I have a bag of like 10 edibles, you know, but we're in California, so it's legal. And he flipped out on me. He was like, I'm a federal agent. And I was like, okay, but we're in California. He's like, no, that's only a local law. If you get pulled over by federal government, it's still illegal, and you can go to federal prison. I'm like, what, dude? For like a bag of edibles? He's like, you know the difference between federal prison and state prison? I'm like, no, dude. I visited my dad in state prison, but like, I don't know. Like, what do you want? He's like, do you have any other drugs in the car? No, I don't. Okay. My girlfriend, he's like, do you have anything else in the car? And my girlfriend looks over at me, because my girlfriend's from Oklahoma. Like I said, if you listen to my stand-up, you guys know all this stuff, but my girlfriend's from Oklahoma, so she had a loaded gun on her, okay? Yeah, my girlfriend had a loaded gun in the car with us, because her dad has taught her that if you're going on a long road trip, you gotta be strapped. So she had a fucking gun on her, and it's not registered to her, it's registered to her mom. So anyway, I tell them, no, we don't have any other drugs, but she's like, I have a gun. And so we have to get out the car, and they have to search our whole car. And it's like I said, it's midnight. We're on our way to New Mexico. It's whatever, you know, we've already been driving for like 4 hours at this point. Go through our car, and like, I wasn't worried, but my girlfriend was kind of freaking out. And, you know, she told him about the gun, and it was loaded on top of that, which is not legal in California. You're not allowed to carry a loaded gun in your car. For some reason, you can carry a gun if it's registered to you, but not a loaded gun. But anyway, the moral of the story is she's white, and they let us go, despite the fact that we had the edibles, because we weren't. The Border Patrol and the Customs, like, they're just looking for actual drug smugglers, so they knew that we weren't that. He told her that she needed to get the gun registered, which, by the way, if I had gotten pulled over with I would have gotten to jail, like, for sure. But whatever. But point being, it's a long road trip, dude. Like, I had to drive to New Mexico. So I want to say it was like a 16-hour drive, but like stuff like that is what comedians have to go through. So it's like, it's very easy to just be like, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A. All right, next stop, I'm hungry again. I'm going to go to McDonald's. Or like, I can't do that. So like, I'll take protein bars with me. You know, I always plan ahead. So when I go to a city, depending on where I am, I kind of look for where I can go and have healthy food, or where the grocery store is in relation to where I'm. Like, I know all these things. Like, there's nothing left by chance. So, because I want to be able to take care of myself. And sometimes, you know, certain comedy clubs, this is still a thing, but like, they don't put you up in a hotel, but they put you in what's called the comedy condo. So a lot of clubs have these across the country, where you stay in a house for the 3 or 4 days that you're working that club, and then they just rotate it every other weekend or every weekend when the new comedians come in, you know. So, but the good thing about those is that they have refrigerators, they have stoves. So now I don't even have to worry about buying the bad food. I can just go to the grocery store, get what I need for those few days, and continue on my normal routine. So there's a lot of us like that. And, you know, I still go to auditions and stuff for acting and stuff, although my focus is comedy now. But, you know, we're in the day and age where you have to have, does that sound all right? Okay, it sounds different on my end now, but
you're closer.
Oh, okay. You know, we're in the day and age now where I'm at the point where just the fact that like I'm funny is good enough for some clubs, but other clubs, they want me to have more credits, more TV stuff or more film stuff so that they can book me. Because a lot of clubs that are not in LA, if you're going to be a feature, which is what I usually am, it's usually they book a local person because then they don't have to pay them as much. They don't have to put them up and so forth. And if you're going to be the headliner, then you have to have credits. So I'm kind of like in a weird place right now where, I can feature at a lot of places, but some places I can't because I'm not the local guy, but I don't have enough credits to be the headliner. So I have to continue to like try to get acting stuff so that I can get a couple credits to say, well, I was on this and so forth. So I still have to look a certain way because I don't want to be the fat guy on the TV show. I don't want to be that. Like, I want to be like, I'm okay looking. Like, it is what it is. Like, we're in LA, dude. There's beautiful people here. I'm not one of those people, but I'm average. It's whatever. Maybe I'm a little bit above average, but I could take care of my body and have that physical appearance because I want to look good when I'm on camera. I want to look good when I'm on stage. So, it's very important to me. And I want to share that with you guys because I think that in any job, whether you're in, the entertainment industry, whether you're a welder, or whether you're a freaking dog walker, dog walkers, that's a bad example because you probably walk a lot. But no matter what it is, if you make it a priority, I have all these odds against me, driving for 8 hours to go to a job, flying, being in and out of airports, being in bars all day, being around drugs, being around alcohol, being around people that don't share. This is a true story too. Whenever I go somewhere, if I don't know the headliner, most of the headliners that take me on the road with them will take me up on this, but wherever I am, I'm always like, hey, I'm going to go work out tomorrow, Mr. Headliner or Mrs. Headliner, would you like to go? And most of them are like, no way, dude. I'm sleeping till like 1 o'clock. I'm like, okay, at least I invited you. Very few of them take me up on it because I want to get more people, especially comedians, involved in like taking care of ourselves. Because, if you're in it for the long run, you got to be healthy. You don't want to die. The timeline for a comic to be successful is about, they say after 7 years, you kind of start finding your voice and stuff, which is great. And then after 10 years, that's when you start really getting stuff. And then 15 years. And like some of these guys, like Bill Burr, Dane Cook, and all these guys, like they were doing comedy for 10, 12 years before you guys found out who they were. Like I had somebody a couple years ago be like, have you heard of this Bill Burr guy? I'm like, yeah, he's been doing comedy for like 20 years. Like, of course I've heard of Bill Burr. But like, when the general public finds out about somebody, they don't realize that they've been doing comedy for like 10 years, 15 years. So my thing is like, by the time that I get that success, whatever that might be, I want to be able to be physically able to enjoy that success. So I've made my health and fitness a priority. But, other people in the industry, actors, models, dancers, like they all kind of go through the same thing. I was just talking to one of my friends earlier today who had an interview at a big agency, and they told her that they already had somebody that was her. This is I'm not going to use her name, but like that, someone that looked like her, but was a little bit slimmer. And she wasn't devastated because she's been in the industry for a while, but it was a big meeting because it was a big agency. And that's fucked up, dude. Like we live in an industry, we work in an industry that chooses people a lot of times just based on how they look. And that's why it's not for everybody. People always ask me if they should they've always wanted to act. They've always wanted to do comedy. I'm like, whatever that part of the industry is, like you have to have thick skin because there's going to be a lot of rejection. A lot. I get a lot of emails back from comedy clubs that say no, sorry. I get a lot of festivals that I submit to that say sorry, and I don't always share those because it's just like, it's frustrating for me and it pisses me off and it puts me in a bad mood. So like, when I book a job or a festival or something, it's like, I'm proud of it. I'll post it on my social media like, hey, I'm going to be at this club on this day because it's like, it's an achievement for me because for every job that I do get, there's like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 jobs that I don't get. So it's like, this is an accomplishment for me. And at some point, I'll get less of those rejections. There's still going to be tons of rejection. I think I'll die and I'll still be getting rejected by stuff. But the point being is, like, you have to have thick skin. You have to be able to overcome adversity. And I think that's where, and it's not cliche. It's you can read it and listen to other people talk about it, but there is a parallel of how I push myself, like fitness wise, to do things that my body is capable or not capable of doing, and how it translates to the work ethic that we have to have in, like I said, in any part of the industry, comedy, acting, modeling, whatever, like that kind of grind, that able to overcome and push past the level of comfort that most people have. Nothing against having a day job, 9 to 5, where you sit at a desk, but that shit ain't for me, dude. Okay. I don't want that. Yeah. Maybe I'd make more money than what I'm making right now, but you know what? I know what I want to do and I'm going to keep doing it. But there are parallels between what I do fitness-wise and what I do comedy-wise, and it has helped me. It's helped me, like you've heard, throughout my life. It's given me something to fall back on and escape, but it's also helps me keep focused, because it's like, okay, I have these fitness goals, I have these comedy goals, I'm going to bring these together. And also, when I perform on stage, I'm fucking active, man. Like, I'm not like jumping around, but like, I'm not just staying in one place behind a microphone and telling jokes. Like, if you see me, you get it. Like, I'm interacting with people. Like, I just have high energy, and a lot of that comes from just the fact that I take care of myself, and I have that energy naturally for the most part, although I do drink a lot of caffeine. But I haven't had caffeine since, I don't know, 6 a.m. This is 2:20 right now. The last caffeine I had was at 8 a.m. That's pretty good. I guess that's only 6 hours, but that shit wore off by now. But I just ran 6 miles also today. So anyway, so like I said, this podcast is designed kind of like, now that you guys got a glimpse into like what I've been through and stuff, I'm going to bring other people in from other parts of the industry. I do want to, it's going to mainly focus on comics, just because I love, bringing in comedians, and you guys get to meet people that maybe you didn't know before and whatnot, but also different parts of the industry, because I do think that there's a stigma like that a lot of these people are just naturally skinny, or they're naturally, and it's like, yeah, maybe like their faces are pretty naturally, but a lot of these people work hard off camera to look good on camera. And a lot of these people, it's not genetics. For me, like you heard, I used to be 200 pounds. If you look at my brothers, I have 2 brothers. If you look at my mom, my dad, like everybody in my family was overweight. So if we're talking genetically, I should be overweight too. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not, because I've made it a priority. And I think everybody can. It's harder for others, yes, but it's not impossible. If I could do it with my lifestyle, anybody can. And it's important, like I said, it's important to me, and I want it to be important to you guys, and I want to kind of shed some entertainment, and bring some entertainment to you guys, but also just kind of educate you on certain things, and certain things that I do for fitness and things that other people do for fitness. Because it doesn't have to be, if you don't like to lift weights, it doesn't have to be lift weights. If you don't like to run, you don't have to, like, there's so many things that you can do. And so I want to, like, that's why I'm going to bring people in, so you guys can kind of hear what they do. Maybe that's something that might interest you guys. So I do want you guys to keep listening, of course, but that's what this podcast is going to be about. So yeah, follow me on social media if you're not already, at Peter Surs on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I think that's all the social medias. And then Comedy Pop-Up is also where you're going to be hearing this, but you probably already follow them. But if not, Comedy Pop-Up on Instagram and so forth, YouTube. And so, yeah, I hope to bring you guys some education, entertainment, and just have fun and enlighten everybody, and just have fun with this. So thanks for listening, guys. This has been The Camera Adds 10 Pounds. My name is Peter Surs. I'll see you guys and talk to you guys next week.